This weird bow tie concept that allowed us to scale from serving 20 to 30 high ticket clients at once to serving 200 to 300 high ticket clients at once without adding a one-to-many offer or reducing the client results that we got. Now, the mistake most people make when it comes to scaling their business, they think, well, I want to have more profit, right? Because if we look at the definition of a company, well, the goal is to have profit that spits off into our own bank account so that we can have the freedom and the lifestyle that we want. And money is a byproduct of value. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But most people, when they want more profit, they think, okay, well, if I want more profit, then the first thing that I need is I need more leads. Okay, so if we look at the bow tie here, if on the left side of the bow tie is lead generation, and in the middle, if that represents sales, so the actual conversion piece of the business, then on the right-hand side, of course, that element is going to be serving clients, right? So if we just call it all the client stuff and the operations that goes into serving the clients. So the thing is, if we get a ton more leads, then what ends up happening as the leads start rolling on through is they come up, they come into the sales process. Let's just say we're closing at a rate of 30% in the sales process. Well, then what ends up happening is we're getting, for every 100 leads that we get, we're getting 30 new clients. And the clients come through the door here and they go into the retention model and they stay for hopefully a really long time with amazing results. But the issue is, and what we see time and time again, I've worked with more than 12,000 businesses at this point, helping them scale when you include the courses that I've sold in the past. What ends up happening is everyone's always focusing on this lead generation side of the business. But what's missing is the client fulfillment piece and the economics behind the client fulfillment piece. Because if we run the numbers, simply put, if for every 10 clients that you bring on over on this side of things, you have to hire 1 or 2 new team members, then that creates operational inefficiency. So then what ends up happening is throughout this process here, instead of you focusing on the lead gen piece or the client service piece or the sales piece, you're then focusing your energy and efforts on the part which most entrepreneurs are innately bad at, which is operations. And so then there's a huge amount of operational drag that's bleeding out of the business, preventing you from focusing on your number one thing. So we have a concept which is scale. So scale stands for sales, clients, attention, leads, and economics. And every 8 weeks, what we get our clients to do is we get them to essentially rank themselves. Are you red? Okay, so is the traffic light like red? Is it amber, as we call it in the UK, but in America, they call it orange? Or is it green? Okay, so if you just think about a normal traffic light, where are you ranking at the moment for each of the different areas? So if you look at your sales right now, just roughly put, we obviously have a calculation behind this. I'll leave it down in the description box so you can check that out if you want. But if you were to rank yourself on sales right now, are you red, amber, or green, right? If you were to look at the way that you're serving clients right now, okay, the question is, if you got 10 times the number of clients tomorrow that you have today, would you be able to green, serve them all fine, and it wouldn't cause any chaos in your business? For pretty much everyone, that would be no. Would it be amber or would it be, would it be red, right? Attention, are you getting attention from the right people? Leads, are you actually converting that attention into qualified prospects who are booked onto the calendar, pre-sold and ready to buy? And then economics is the piece which is for every 10 clients that you get, is it economically viable? Are you taking a salary out of your business that's good, that you love? And is the profit of your business within the scale zone? And for businesses who are scaling from 100K per year to 100K per month, that wants to be anywhere within the region of 40 to 80%, because anything above 80% shows that you don't have the right team in place, meaning that the economics is not in your favor right now because you're doing too much of the client delivery, sales, lead gen, or any one of these areas. And simultaneously, if it's below 40% for a revenue level of that standpoint, that's way too low in this business model that we're talking about here, which is coaching, consulting, agency, training, education, etc. So with all of that in mind, right, once you've done the scale audit, then you have an idea of, well, okay, so which area is my actual bottleneck? So let's just say your bottleneck does just so happen to be lead generation, okay? So if it's lead generation, then your 100% focus is going to be on leads for that 8-week period. If you suddenly then see an ad that starts talking about why you should have a low ticket product, or you see another ad which talks about why you should start a drop shipping store, right? You're not going to get distracted by that because your singular focus is on lead gen. So this eliminates decision making, because what happens is, as we grow our businesses, more and more opportunities come about. So then maybe somebody says to you, hey, let's do a joint venture and let's launch this course together. But you're going to say, no, I am within this 8-week period and I'm focusing specifically on the lead generation project. I'll give you another example. Let's say that the bottleneck is that actually, let's say you fix the lead gen issue, okay? But then you notice that you're closing 1 in every 7 people that you speak to. So your close rate is quite low. So then that means for your next 8-week cycle, right, what you're going to focus on is the sales process. And then typically what then ends up happening is you fix the sales process, you get back up to between 25 to 30%. Then you're going to have so many new clients coming through that you probably then need to focus on the way in which you serve your clients. So while most people are spending all of their time in this part of the bow tie over here, what actually then happens is it's a cyclical nature. You solve this, then you move into this, and then you move over here into the client delivery piece. Now, obviously, it doesn't always happen in that order, because some people, like one of our clients, Mike Moore, right? Like, he literally closes 95% of people that he speaks to, and he has taken hundreds of sales calls, right? He was a sales guy before. He's very, very good at sales. So for him, as he gets more leads, his then issue becomes the client delivery piece. So then that's why we then focus over there. But here's the most important point of this video, right? And why this is such an important and key concept. Because if we understand that we can use what is known as the theory of constraint, which is whereby we look at what's our bottleneck in the business and we put all of our energy and attention on fixing that thing, and thus, therefore, we can move on to the next thing, then we are able to actually build a business that can truly scale, right? That's why it's called the scale audit. Now, when it comes down to this concept, what I should highlight for you is that the reason most people do not succeed with what we're talking about right here is because they get distracted and they get shiny object syndrome. And that is a key thing that kills people's businesses, because if at the end of the day, you know right now that your area to focus on is attention, that means that you're spending your time getting more people to even know who you are, know what your offer is, etc. So there's really only a limited number of activities that you should be doing on a daily basis. So then if you were to look at your calendar, you know, Monday through Friday, and if you work the weekends as well, how does your calendar look? Because 80% of the time should be focused on whatever your number one area of scale is. And if it's not, then you have a huge problem. You have a really, really huge problem. Now, simultaneously, if you're only ever focusing on this side of the business here, you will create for yourself a capacity constraint issue, because you won't be focusing on expanding how many clients you can serve at any one time. So given that it always feels overwhelming when you're in the early stages and when you don't have the right strategy behind you, the scale approach is the approach that is going to allow you to reduce the overwhelm and actually scale your business consistently and predictably. Because every 8 weeks, you just have one thing to focus on. And so you pick that thing, that is your bottleneck right now, you focus on it for 8 weeks straight, and then you move on to the next thing. Because you know that a problem well solved is a problem created. So as you solve one problem, you create the next problem. And that's why it's not a one and done thing. It's a do it now, and then we do it again and again and again, because it's a case of iterating and building upon what is the constraint at any one moment. So I'll leave you with another example. So one of our clients, Mina Sara, she had this huge issue with her client delivery piece over here. But she thought that her issue was that she needed more attention. So she was going on podcasts, she was speaking at events, she was pitching publications to try and get more articles and get more visibility. But what we did is we actually looked at her business and we did a full assessment and audit, and we noticed, well, no, the problem is right now that you are on so many one-on-one calls with clients and you're serving your clients so often, reactively responding to their messages, that you don't have the time, energy, or space to even possibly improve the economics of the business. Because if we were to actually calculate her hourly rate, because it's just simply the number of, let's just say you're working every week, 40 hours a week, right? And let's just say you're making, I don't know, 10 grand a month, right? So if you take the 10 grand, and if we figure out the maths behind that, I'm not meant to be doing live maths ever, so let me just quickly run the numbers here. So that means that she'd be making every month. She's working 40 hours a week, 10 grand a month. That's what, 2,500 every week, right? So that's really just 62. That's 62.50 an hour. All right. Now, as a business owner, it can be much higher than that. I realized that wasn't even on the screen, but it can be much higher than that. So what we had to do is we had to look at the way that she was serving clients, and we had to focus our energy and attention over here. So that then, instead of when the clients came in, they would get more of her time and more of her efforts, etc. We had to create a container whereby she could actually replace herself in what she was doing. Now, most people immediately jump to thinking that they need a group container. And while that can be a really great option, it sometimes isn't actually the thing that's necessary. Because instead, if there are processes and checklists that you already follow yourself, you just don't realize you're doing it because it's unconscious competence for you, well, you can have someone come in and shadow you and write a process as you're doing it as to what you did. And then eventually you realize you actually do have a roadmap to serve those clients. And thus, therefore, you're able to replace yourself. So she was very quickly able to replace herself in about 2 to 3 months period. She replaced herself in the client fulfillment piece, and we realized she's actually really good at sales. And she likes it, okay? And so then we looked at what's the gap now that the client fulfillment piece is dialed in. Well, because she's also good at sales, sales was fine, but she just didn't have enough opportunity. And her issue wasn't attention, though, even though she thought it was. It was leads. Because she had the right attention, it's just that she wasn't communicating her offer and her message and her value in a way that was getting her existing small audience, 2,000 people, to raise their hand with intent that they wanted to work with her. Because people would say, yeah, cool, this looks really great, I'm really interested for all of her free stuff, but then they wouldn't buy. So what we did is we rewrote her offer, which is a lead gen piece. We rewrote the offer in a way that people understood it. And then instead of her getting 1 to 2 sales calls a week, now she's consistently taking 10 plus sales calls every week. And I don't just mean sales calls where they get to the end and they say, I need to think about it or I need to speak to my spouse. When we talk sales calls, we're talking people who are pre-sold and pre-qualified. Now, the reason why this was possible to happen is because she replaced herself in doing all of the grunt work of the client delivery, because that was systematized, right? The reason my business is called Scale Systems is because Scale, SCALE, sales, clients, attention, leads, and economics systems, right? I believe that system stands for save yourself time, energy, money, and stress. And so if we really think about systems being the thing that are going to set us free, systems do require us to spend some time on fleshing those things out. However, instead of sitting down with a Google Doc and writing step by step what you do, it's better to do the thing and then to have somebody else mirror you as you do it, watch what you're doing, and then for them to document it, and then for them to show you, hey, this is what you did. Can you check this and just let me know if I missed anything? And you'll then get into the habit, or you'll feel the desire to want to change everything that that person just shared with you. But the thing is that as long as they're good, then they will have actually written down what you're already doing. And that's the problem that we have as entrepreneurs, is we find the problems in everything. And so we always want to solve the problems. So then you can say to that person, watch me do it one more time and compare your notes. And then you're empowering them to grow and develop. So let's just go back to the example with Mina. So she's selling more, she's getting more clients, she's getting more leads. Then what we do is we do the scale audit again. And most of the time, now that those other systems are in place, the next issue that then becomes is we just need more attention so that more people come in top of the funnel knowing who we are. I just recently actually did a masterclass breaking down our social media sales engine. And so if you want to check that out, I'll also leave that linked down in the description. So ultimately, when you think through the lens of this bow tie, right, then you're able to identify, plus the scale audit, where your energy and attention needs to be spent. And then as time goes on, what will end up happening with your business is that you'll have someone who's responsible for the lead gen piece. So this would be like a marketing person and eventually a head of marketing. So that becomes a job. So someone becomes the marketing. Now, usually that also involves the attention piece. So that person takes these two areas, which is attention and leads. You then have someone who is responsible for sales. That becomes a role. Okay. And then you have somebody as well who is responsible for clients and product, because there's a difference between the product and the client success. So they will actually also become two separate roles as you begin to scale as well. And that's really the economics piece here. Because if you think about the economics, right, of course we can think, demand, supply, etc., right? Basics economics 101. But we also need to consider the resource allocation of the business. And so this is why typically the client side and then the operations side of the business, while they aren't usually the same person, if we were to think about the org chart, usually the person who is in client success will also be in operations. So maybe the client success reports to the operations director, whereas the sales and marketing reports to the CEO, right? And then from there, okay, so we've got the clients piece here and the economics. From there, then we actually have a business, okay, other than a glorified job. So if you think through this lens, it will allow you to be a lot more successful with serving high-ticket clients at scale. So I hope you enjoyed this. I am going to be getting into doing more videos like this. Wow, that is pretty messy, but yeah, I'll be doing some more stuff. Haven't done some long-form content for a while, so it's pretty interesting getting back into the swing of things, but it's pretty enjoyable, and I hope that helps, and I'm looking forward. And it takes some time to really understand this stuff, but when it clicks in your mind, it's like you see your business from a whole different perspective, and everything will change for you. Okay. So anyways, I hope that was helpful, and yeah, subscribe because I got some cool stuff coming, and share this with your team, share this with other business owners you know. See you in the next one. Okay.